Okay, so good morning, guys. Welcome to Maritime Careers Day within National Careers Week. So, obviously, I'm sure you're all aware today is also International Women's Day. So, I'm joined by two fantastic women from the port sector today, Raj from the Port of London Authority and Angela from Port Skills and Safety. So, this week also marks Scottish Apprenticeship Week. And Angela will be talking later on some of the apprenticeships available in the port sector. So I'm Jess and I'm the Programme Executive for Careers and Outreach at Maritime UK. So throughout National Careers Week, we're looking at each area of the maritime sector. So that includes business services, shipping, ports, engineering and science, and last but not least, the leisure industry. So today we're looking at the maritime careers available in ports, and I'm sure you have seen the cranes towering behind the gates of a port near you, but there are so many roles within ports, from management teams to security to operations to marketing to engineering to environmental, and all of the roles on the marine or wet side of things. And the list goes on and on and on. But I think Raj is going to take over now and give an overview of what they do at the Port of London Authority.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to share my screen with you all now. Bear me 1 second. So my name is Raj Kehal and I'm the Head of Stakeholder Engagement at the Port of London Authority. So today I'm going to talk about who we are, what we do, and how you can get involved in the future should you wish to pursue a career in maritime. So first of all, who are the Port of London Authority? So we are a trust port, and a trust port, the status of a trust port means any profit we make, we put back into the river and we leave it in a better state than we got it for future generations like yourselves. We facilitate navigational safety. We manage and protect the marine environment. We promote the use of the Thames, and we coordinate the operation of the port. This is our basic duty on what we do, and I'm now going to talk a little bit more about in detail on how that works. So first of all, I think it's really important to talk about the area we cover. So unlike other ports, our remit is slightly different than a traditional port. We cover the tidal Thames, which is the 95-mile stretch from Teddington Lock in London to the North Sea. And the way our port works is from Teddington to Putney, we tend to have a lot more, the activity is very much recreational. So you have a lot more rowers, stand-up paddleboarding, more the sports side of things. And then from Putney to the Thames Barrier is very much your passenger vessels, your Uber boats, your Thames clippers, your city cruises. It's very leisurely part of the river. And then from the Thames Barrier to the estuary, it's very much our big cargo vessels, those cranes that you see out your windows, those big ships that come in, bringing all the goods into the river. So your food, your PPE, your toys, your Amazon deliveries, this is the part of the river that it would come into. So what is our goal at the Port of London? We aim to be the #1 trading port. So to put it in perspective, the Port of London Authority has been the #1 port in terms of trade within the UK for the last 3 years. We have brought in 45 million tons of cargo. And to put that in perspective for you, that basically equates to 405 billion bananas. And what we're trying to do is ensure that it's a good place for you to enjoy the rivers. It's a destination hub for you, and whilst protecting the marine environment. And so this is what we're trying to aim to do at the Port of London. And now I'm just going to talk about how does that work. So these are some of the departments that you can get involved with at the Port of London. They're not all of them, so but it's just to give you a bit of a flavour. So we have a finance team who deal with our finances. We have a planning team who would plan how we operate within the river sector. We have a pilotage team, a legal team, environment, harbour masters, corporate affairs, which is what I'm part of, the hydrography department, marine engineering, and your VTS, which is vessel traffic services. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail to explain what that means to all of you. So the finance, so essentially, this is the department where we manage all our money. We pay our bills, we invoice our customers to pay us, we determine how we charge our PLA services. So in this particular department, you can get involved in being part of the accounts team. So when we ask, when somebody gets a service from us, they have to pay us. So this team would process those payments. And when we want something from another supplier, we would make payments through these guys. So this is really important for us to function, because without money, we're not able to deliver the services that we have. And the types of roles that you can get involved with would be the Chief Financial Officer. So the Chief Financial Officer oversees all the financial functions of that team. You could be a charges officer. So when we would like to license somebody, the charges officer would determine how much that license fee is going to be. You could be part of the accounts payable team, what I touched upon earlier, the accounts receivable team. This is just a few of the options that you can get involved in. So if you're somebody who's really into maths, loves numbers, this is the department to get involved in. And then we come on to the legal team. So the legal team is the team that makes us accountable for everything we do. So the legal team would be ensuring that they provide us with advice for any transaction we want to make, to ensure that we've done it legally according to law. They explain the risk involved for us. So that could be if we want to make a decision, to tell us the pros and cons of that decision. And what they would do is they would analyze and review documents for us. So if you're somebody who loves proofreading, who's a critical thinker, this is a really good opportunity and a good place to be part of. And this is just our current legal team, so some of the members of the team who run this for us at the PLA. And then we go on to what we would call the planning and licensing team. So the planning team deal with all our projects up along the river. So this could be developments in regards to infrastructure. It could be when we have a derelict wharf. What this team would do is how would we operate that wharf again? So how would we function it? How can we restart it? What can we do to bring it alive again? They also work with housing organisations to ensure that there is a river and land link. So they would also be involved in the Super Sewer project, which is the Thames Tideway project. And the Thames Tideway project is the super sewer to take out sewage from the river and ensure that we have a cleaner river. And this particular team would ensure that the planning of any infrastructure is done safely without a compromise to navigation of the river. And so some of the work that they also do is foreshore permits. So when you see people go out on the foreshore, picking up objects, what we term as mudlarking, you would need a permit from the PLA, and this particular department would warrant those permits and manage those. And I touched upon earlier about the super sewer project, which the PLA team are involved with and the Tideway team are involved with to ensure that the super sewer is constructed safely. They would also respond to public consultations on various schemes, such as new bridges, crossings. So if we have, for example, a project called the Lower Thames Crossing, which would be a crossing from Kent to Essex, the planning team would be vital in ensuring that all the safety and navigation for that project is consulted on with us, and we don't upset anybody when it comes to operations, and there's a smooth running of cargo coming in and out of the river. That's just some of the projects that we do. And then we talk about pilotage. So a lot of people don't realise that in order for you to navigate any big ship that comes into the river, you would need a PLA pilot. And the reason why you need that is because the PLA pilot would have the local knowledge of the River Thames, and as a result, they'll be able to manoeuvre that vessel and that big ship accordingly, so that it's done safely and we don't have big massive crashes. So we have over 100 pilots and who guide more than 10,000 ships in the PLA every year. And the PLA pilotage department ensures that there's a service 24/7, 365 days a year. So there's no time off. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service. And this is just one of our pilots to show you what we do. And another thing is the pilotage is actually where we get most of our income. So when I spoke earlier in the session and spoke about the trust port status, when we make this income, we put it back into the future generation of the river. And then we come on to the environment team. And so the environment team is an interesting one as well, where you can get involved in. So when I spoke about earlier about the ambition to protect marine sustainability on the river, so what we're in charge of is ensuring the air quality is monitored and clean. So what that means is when we have any ships, boats on the river, we want to ensure that CO2 emissions are in line with government guidelines, and what we would have within the team is air quality monitors up and down the river to ensure we have clean air. We would have another specialist who will look at the water quality. So as you can see, we do have seals in the river, and in order for you to have seals in the river, we want to make sure that that water is clean, and we don't compromise on any of those species in the river. We have a specialist who will look at the ecology. So any species on the river, we want to make sure that it's a clean habitat for them, and they would analyse all the species up and down the river and map out what we have. And then we also have within the environment team somebody who would support the licensing. So when we spoke earlier about the planning team, in order to ensure that they do the planning application safely, we would have somebody from the environment team to ensure that there's not a compromise on the natural Thames. And then we look at the Harbour Master team. So if you would like to get involved in the Harbour Masters, so what does the Harbour Masters do? So the Harbour Masters' sole responsibility is to ensure that anybody who enters the PLA waters, which is the tidal Thames, does so safely. So if you want to bring a boat in, or if you would like to swim or go rowing, stand up paddleboarding, the harbour master team would be there to ensure you do that safely. And the way they do that is they would have patrol boats, which we refer to as harbour service launches. And we have two individuals on there, a marine river inspector and a deckhand. And they would go up and down the river to patrol those waters. So if anybody's doing anything unsafely, they would speak to them. Or if you have somebody who was going too fast, speeding, the harbour master team would be there to ensure that they follow the rules, and they would also deal with big events that you have up and down the river. So to put it in perspective for you, the harbour master team would look at, just last year alone, 613 competitive events along the river to ensure that those events, such as rowing competitions, are done so safely. And this team is also responsible for Richmond Lock and Weir. So what I mean by that is at the end of the west side of our jurisdiction, we have Richmond Lock. So we have a foreman manager there who would ensure that the water levels are what they should be. And when water levels drop, we would ensure that the harbour master team are informed and the correct measures are taken to bring the weirs down. And this is just some of the harbour master team. And so as you see here, this is our senior harbour master, Catherine Spain, who is also a pilot by background. And this is the corporate affairs team, which is basically the team that I'm from. So what does the corporate affairs team do? So we ensure that the brand of the PLA is consistent in terms of colours, fonts, styles, and online presence. So for me to be talking to you today and presenting, I would ensure that my presentation is in line with the brand colours, which is navy blue and yellow and white. As you can see on the bottom, the logo there, and that would go through the corporate affairs team to ensure that everyone within the organisation uses the same branding. We work with the harbour master team to ensure that licensing for filming on the river is done so correctly. So one of our big clients would be Netflix. When you have James Bond filming on the river, they would need to obtain a license from the PLA in order to do so. And that is a cross-team effort where we would speak to the harbour master team to ensure that any footage or any filming that we do on the river is done so safely. And then on the basis of that, we would grant a license to big film companies. We would
to jump in quickly, Raj. I think, wow, it's huge. I'm just aware on time too, and we've also got to hear from Angela. So if we could cover the rest of your bits, that'd be really great.
Yeah. So we promote the PLA in community schools and festivals. We facilitate external events. And we just ensure that messaging is consistent inside and outside of the organisation. And then we go into hydrography, which could be another interesting one for you guys. So the PLA Hydrographic Service is responsible for surveying the riverbed. So essentially, we would have a vessel such as this, which is the Titan, who would map the riverbed such as this and produce these maps for all master mariners. And then we go to marine engineering, and the marine engineering department would ensure that maintenance and repairs are all done so correctly, would diagnose faults. So any vessels that need fixing, these guys would do that for you, and they would maintain it every year, so they would service it. and ensure that everything is done so safely. And then we just come to the final bit, which is our vessel traffic services. So essentially, the vessel traffic services which you could be part of is the marine traffic monitoring system, which is similar to air traffic control. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, they will be sitting there in our Gravesend office, monitoring the whole river, and to ensure that they can see everything that comes in and out, and they will communicate that to all the other departments so that everything is done so in a safe manner. So that's a little bit of what we do, and hopefully there's some options and opportunities that you can identify that you can see yourself working in. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Raj. That was absolutely amazing. I think there were some jobs in there that even I wasn't aware of. So yeah, that was really fantastic, and thank you very much. So we're going to talk to Angela now from Port Skills and Safety. So just while I'm loading up your presentation, Angela, did you want to introduce yourself and Port Skills and Safety?
Of course, thank you, Jess. Yes, my name's Angela Ward. I'm from Port Skills and Safety, and I am the skills lead there. I joined the company in May last year, so I'm relatively new to the port sector. My background prior to that was working in further education, in college and training providers, and as a head of apprenticeship. So the routes into ports is something that I've been looking at, and we've got a lot of work planned for the next 5 years in our strategy to help the work the Maritime UK and the ports and other port associations are doing.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Angela. I think you should be able to see the slides now.
Yep, thank you. So I'll try not to do the next slide thing. If I just pause for a moment, you'll know that I'm ready to go to the next one.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so there's various, and I'll keep this fairly brief because I'm really conscious of time. So there's various entry routes in, as there is in any industry, but within ports, you know, there is a direct entry route in from school, and I would suggest that if you don't want to go the other routes, that you try to gather some work experience along the way, which some schools do, and I know some don't quite so much. Obviously, if you go to sixth form college training provider, there are A levels to do, there are study programs, which is the further education route, that covers a number of areas that Raj would have touched on. So engineering, marine, and various others, business admin. So whichever area that you wanted to go into to work in a port, there would be a study program that could help lead into that, to give you some more knowledge before you chose which way you were going to go in. And I'm only going to touch on these briefly because I've got another slide that goes into a little bit more detail. T levels, another great way in. We don't have any port specific T levels at the moment, but again, in digital business admin, they exist, and they give you a good all-round experience within your chosen area. So you would do work experience as well as your study within your college. And then we've got the apprenticeship route in that cover levels 2 to 7. So level 2 is around your GCSE level, going up to level 7, which is master's degree apprenticeships. Or you can go the university route. So again, any of these, you know, you might go route 1, 2 and 3, or you may skip to doing an A level and then doing a degree apprenticeship. You may do an apprenticeship straight from school. So there are various routes that you can go in with this. Or doing a graduate programme once you finished university. So there's no right or wrong way about it. It's just where you sit. And I guess as well, when you decide what it is that you really want to do, because some people know from school and others don't. Okay, so if we look at the next slide, actually, if we skip to the next one, Jess, and I can talk through some of this anyway. So I've just put on this slide, this is some of the activity that we do within ports. So I want to concentrate on the areas specifically for you. So in the yellow section there, that has the big circle around it, this is around further and higher education. So you'll see there you've got the different levels, and the arrows down below are the different certificates, awards that you might want to study if you wanted to go that way and go through the further education and university route. But again, you know, as I said earlier, you might then start on that route and then go into an apprenticeship. So there are different pathways in. This isn't an exhaustive list as in any of the slides. It's just a bit of a flavour to give you an idea. So again, there could be engineering on here that you decide to do marine engineering, but I've picked out some of the more port specific. Supply chain, level 2 supply chain. You've got level 1 award in certificate and diploma in exploring maritime skills. Some of the level 1 and level 2 awards and certificates there may be available in school. Some of the schools do deliver them, and certainly the level 3, level 4s you would then look at college, or then going through to universities such as the level 6 and the level 7 qualifications there. If we look at the next slide, Jess, it is a whistle-stop tour, I'm afraid. The apprenticeship routing, again, it doesn't mean that you have to start at level 2 and work through. You may start at level 2, you may start at level 3, you may start at level 4, or you may start straight away in a degree apprenticeship from school. So you've got on here again just a brief flavour, the level 2 marina and boatyard operatives. You might choose to work in finance, and your first step there could be the accounts and finance assistant. This covers a variety of roles, but again, it's not the whole list. There are so many different apprenticeships that could help you go into any of the areas that Raj has talked about that are available within ports around the UK. And we do work UK-wide as well. So you've got the marine pilot on there that we talked about, cyber security technologist, ecologist. So they cover really a wide range of job roles that you could see in ports. Okay, if we just move on, again, if you go the university route, if you do a degree, then there are internships that the ports do offer. And what I would suggest is to look at your local ports, have a look at their careers and recruitment pages and see when they're advertising for them. Some of them have got their vacancies live at the moment, and some will be coming a little bit later on. So a graduate programme, typically a 2-year programme once you've done your degree, and usually you'd rotate around the different departments that may look slightly different port to port. Or an internship is typically something that you'd either do during your time at university, so whether it's in your summer break, or you have a sandwich in, you might do a placement, or when you've done your degree. So, I mean, hopefully it just gives you a flavour really at this point that, you know, there is no right or wrong way. There is such a variety of roles within ports that it's really any career that you wanted to do, you could do within the port environment. Okay, and I've just put, I'm not going to talk through this, but just so that you've got it there for your reference on the webinar, some useful websites there, obviously the Maritime UK one, the careers pages. On our website, we've got a Meet the Apprentices page where we've just started to put some videos on. And then as we create a new website in the summer, you'll see more resources going on there. But I do suggest you talk to your local ports, schools, go and see them. They do open days. They're more than happy usually to arrange visits and to talk about what they do. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Angela. That was definitely a whistle-stop tour to all entry routes into ports. And I think we see across the maritime industry that there's no right or wrong way into maritime, and that there's lots of different pathways people follow.